So one of the things that mainstream gaming journalists love to complain about apparently is bullying, right? Every time we cover them and we talk about them, they like to say that we're bullying them. They like to say that we're attacking them. They always come up with this BS excuse like, "Oh man, the YouTubers, the chuds, they're just right-wing losers. They're constantly attacking us. They're harassing us. It's a targeted harassment campaign. They're bullying us." Well, apparently bullying is perfectly fine, according to the journalists over at PC Gamer, as long as the target is something that they all agree on, and it's not them. So I saw this article here, and I find this to be very ironic because the funny thing is I would normally agree with what they're saying here about the developers, right, using AI for their scientist portraits, which we're going to get into. But the simple fact is I find it amazing to see gaming journalists partaking in what they admit in their own words, is bullying, and yet it's perfectly fine because they're all against AI, right? Because they don't want their jobs to be replaced by AI. And let's be real, that's exactly what's happening. So let's get into this video. But of course, before we do, special shout out to the 90,600 plus that are subscribed to the channel right now. And if you are part of the 50% that aren't subscribed, consider hitting that subscribe today. I would greatly appreciate it. So again, I want to reiterate, the journalists love to bully people as long as they agree on the target. And the target right now, along with developers in gaming, is AI. AI is their target because they fear AI. They fear their replacement. That's basically what it is. These people are so untalented. They bring nothing to the gaming industry. They bring nothing to the overall gaming conversation. They're getting destroyed by YouTubers every day to the point where now they can be replaced by AI. I know Smash JT just recently wrote an article talking about this because he discovered a journalist from a website that I already forgot because I don't care about them. But the journalist has no history, no LinkedIn, no nothing. Apparently is a hardcore gamer, but has no history and has the weirdest, like, I don't know, scam name. I have no idea, but it's the weirdest thing. And then when you look into it and you use ChatGPT to break down their article and guess how like what's the highest chance this might be AI, it's guessing at a 95% ratio that it's most likely AI. That's how obvious it's become. It's going to get to the point where these companies are going to hire AI companies to make fake journalists for them and write articles. That's literally what it is because they only care about the quantity of it, right? Which I have no problems with. It's fine, but damn, at least let people do it. But in any case, this person, Lincoln Carpenter for PC Gamer, says the following: bullying works once again, which means they've done it before. They've done it before. Jurassic World Evolution 3 is ditching its AI-generated scientist portraits after receiving backlash for sparing the wrong expense. Because, yes, according to these people, it's ethical to pay other people to do a job that a computer can do for free, right? It's ethical to do that. But the funny thing is, these people, they partake in this shit all the time. Their entire lives are covered by automation. There's plenty of things that these people do every single day and utilize every single day that can be done by people. It's like the Industrial Revolution all over again, right? Where these people don't want to admit that their time is up, their days are numbered. But in any case, let's continue. Jurassic Park was a story about the dangers of using technology to manufacture the beauty and majesty of life so that it can be turned around for a profit. Frontier Developments, publisher and developer of the upcoming Jurassic World Evolution 3, seems to have relearned that lesson, announcing earlier this week that it would remove AI-generated art assets before the game's October launch after finding itself on the receiving end of public outcry. Now, apparently there was a lot of backlash by this particular video game because they decided to use AI for their scientist portraits, and they openly admitted this on Steam. There was like a little warning on the bottom that said that this is 100% generated by AI. If you look here, it says many of those players weren't as enthused. However, when they visited Jurassic World 3 Steam page to find an AI-generated content disclosure statement, the now removed disclaimer, which you can find on archived versions of Steam listing, said that the scientist avatars are created using generative AI. Now, the simple truth is that they're going to try to pretend as if this is like a small thing or whatever, or, just one-off kind of situation. There is a lot of gaming studios that are utilizing AI right now, and they're not all indie games. They're not all double A games. There's a lot of them that are triple A games using AI. Call of Duty is one of the biggest examples of that. You guys remember the six-figure zombie? Remember that? That wasn't done by a person, right? That was done by AI. It was very clear that the zombie was made by AI. And that is a AAA company. That's Call of Duty. Call of Duty makes crazy money. and they still decided to cheap out and use AI for one of their skins. So you got to imagine how many other skins are utilizing AI. I don't agree with it, but to say that this is not going to become the norm, I think is a little bit insane. And these people are fighting it. They're obviously trying to fight it, but they're not fighting it for real ethical reasons. They're not fighting it for the same reason me and you are fighting for it, which is creativity, right? I want creativity. I don't want a computer to do everything, unfortunately. The sad thing is that the computers are doing it better on average more than the developers are, because the developers we have now are trash. If they weren't trash and they were good like they used to be, if you got a nice solid few hundred nerds in there, I guarantee you they would do much better than any AI could ever do. But the sad truth is that we don't have nerds in gaming anymore. Very few. We have people that are just too busy being activists, more so than actually creating anything. That's just how it goes. But in any case, Jurassic World using AI, this is not the first example, and it won't be the last. But they're apparently okay with the developers being bullied into taking AI off of the game, which is hilarious because, again, I'm focusing more on the hypocrisy of your modern day gaming journalists. These are the people that get angry at myself. These are the people that get angry at people like you to calling them out. These are the people that get angry at all of us for calling them out on what they do every day, and they call it harassment. They call it bullying. They say leave developers alone, right? These are the people that make posts about how working in game development is hard. These are the people that make posts saying you should be nicer to your game developers because they worked really hard on the game, right? These are these same people, and yet apparently, as long as it's a target they all agree on, well, you could just bully them. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly acceptable. Don't worry about it. Now, all of a sudden, bullying is okay. Not once, but multiple times, because they said once again. So keep that in mind next time you hear these people complain about supposedly getting targeted harassment or getting bullied. Keep in mind that they said bullying works. They said bullying is okay. There's actually a certain journalist out there right now that is suing a YouTuber over being harassed, right? But this same journalist openly admitted in a once deleted tweet, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe, to my knowledge, that this person said that bullying is okay. We need to bring bullying back. That's what they said. We need to bring bullying back. Well, I believe it's deleted now, or at least it's probably archived at this point. But there are multiple journalists that have now said this. So at what point do we start to think that the hypocrisy is a little bit too much? At what point do we start to admit that these journalists are just basically do as I say and not as I do, which we already know that's how they are. Now, if we go down here, I want to just focus on this being right here. Jurassic World Evolution 3 was announced back in 2024, but we got our first proper look at the Dino Park Management sequel with a gameplay reveal trailer at Summer Games Fest earlier this month, which I think Kata said in the chat he doesn't care. He's going to play it anyway, so good. Good for him. Potential players were enthusiastic about new features like generational dino breeding, new terrain, scenery, customization tools, balloon tours. Everyone loves balloon tours. So they're adding a bunch of new features. Perhaps by adding those features, that took a lot of their money, so they had to rely on AI to make some things like portraits. Maybe that's why. Again, I'm not saying it's okay, and I'm not saying that it's acceptable. I'm just saying maybe that's what happened. But within hours, Steam users started criticizing the inclusion of AI-generated art assets on the game's discussion forum. The longest running of those threads, posted on June 7th with the title "No Gen AI Andes Around Here, No Thanks," has since reached 18 pages of discourse that I absolutely do not recommend you read. I would read it if it was up to me. So we got some screenshots here. AI generated content alert. The game uses AI generation for character images. Don't support this. Bird Skull says if they get used to AI generated content in this game without pushback, all they're going to do is push the envelope with every release from here on out. Eat shit, Frontier. Some people are really taking some big offense to this. They're taking huge offense to this. And I understand why. But damn, man, these people really are acting like as if it's their jobs on the line. But another now locked thread called the AI portraits part of the trifecta of Nope, alongside pre-purchase bonuses and de novo. So they got de novo in the game as well. Now that's a big problem. There were, of course, plenty of users who noted that a few scientists' NPC portraits are, all things considered, relatively inconsequential bits of art. In response, they received sentiments like those of Steam user Bird Skull, who said if they get used to AI, which we already read, as disagreements on the internet tend to do, things devolved into 17 days of circular mudslinging until on June 24th, an official Frontier account entered the fray with the announcement that they are going to be removing the AI completely. They said, thanks for your feedback on this topic. We have opted to remove the use of generative AI for scientist portraits within Jurassic World Evolution 3. So it took 17 days for the company to fold. And let's be real, man. I always tell people it's great to fight for your games. Fight for your games as much as you can. I'm always an advocate for it. I'm never going to be a corpo bootlicker fucking slob knobber that these people are half the time, especially the console fanboys, unfortunately. Like the regular console people, they're great, but the console fanboys, they're hardcore about it. But in any case, fight for your games always. And if they bent the knee after 17 days, then clearly, you know, they couldn't handle the smoke. So the only thing is now, anytime something gets put into the game that these people don't like, they're going to feel as if they could get this team to bend the knee just by complaining. But hey, I guess we'll find out what happens in the future. So you guys can let me know in the comments down below. What do you think is going to happen with this? Is this going to save the game, or is this going to kill the game? Do you think this was ever going to hurt the game to begin with? Or do you think this is people just virtue signaling about AI, trying to get the company to bend the knee for no reason other than their own self-gratification without any effect to the game whatsoever? You can let me know in the comments down below what you think. Special shout out to the 90,600 of you that are subscribed to the channel right now. And if you are over the 50% that aren't subscribed, consider hitting that subscribe today, and I will see you guys on the next one.